In this gripping video, we delve into the captivating story behind this relentless pursuit to eliminate Lenin. We'll explore the motivations, the risks, and the tragic destiny that awaited the fearless woman involved. Prepare to unravel a web of secrets, bravery, and the extraordinary lengths people went to shape the tides of history. So who is the woman whose attempt to assassinate Lenin led to her brutal execution? Fanny Efimovna Kaplan's past is not known with certainty. She comes from a Jewish household. She had 7 siblings, and her father was a teacher. Regarding her entire name, there has been some ambiguity. Vega Kaimovna Reutblatt Kaplan was Kaplan's original name, according to Vera Figner, who wrote about her life in her biography at Women's Katorga. Her original family name, Reutemann, is said to be equivalent to the popular German and Yiddish surname, Reutemann, according to some sources. Her given name, Dora, was also sometimes used to refer to her. Kaplan received her education at home and soon departed to work as a hat maker in Odessa. She joined the Socialist Revolutionaries, SRs, a socialist organization at a young age, and started out as a political revolutionary. Kaplan was detained in Kiev in 1906 when she was 16 years old for her alleged involvement in a terrorist bomb plot, but she was later apprehended after a device she and her love companion were working on inadvertently exploded. She was sentenced to a life sentence in a hard-working prison camp called Katorga. She served at the Nerchinsk-Katorga prisons of Maltsev and Akatui, Siberia, where she lost her sight, which was eventually partially recovered. After the February Revolution destroyed the imperial authority, she was liberated on March 3, 1917. Kaplan's confinement caused her to experience frequent migraines and brief spells of blindness. What compelled Fanny Kaplan to make the fateful choice of shooting Lenin? Due to tensions between the SRs and the Bolsheviks in 1917 to 1918, Kaplan lost faith in Lenin. Fanny Kaplan, a significant player in Russian history, decided to kill Lenin for a mix of political and personal reasons, which proved catastrophic. Kaplan passionately opposed the Bolshevik government and their acquisition of power after the Russian Revolution as a member of the Socialist Revolutionary Party. Kaplan, like many others, thought that Lenin's rule was taking the nation away from the democratic values they had fought for during the revolution and towards one of authoritarianism. She perceived Lenin as a representation of oppression and thought that his actions were counterproductive to the actual spirit of the revolution. Although the non-Bolsheviks won the majority in the Constituent Assembly elections in November 1917, the Bolsheviks still had substantial support among the Soviets. In January 1918, the assembly convened, and a socialist revolutionary was chosen as president. In response, the Bolsheviks dissolved the Constituent Assembly. The Bolsheviks had outlawed the majority of minor parties by August 1918. The left socialist revolutionaries, left SRs, who had previously been the Bolsheviks' major coalition allies, and had revolted against them in July in opposition to the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, had most recently been outlawed. Lenin was viewed as a traitor to the revolution by Kaplan, who made the decision to kill him. Act of assassination. After the Russian Revolution, a noteworthy incident was the murder attempt on Lenin that Fanny Kaplan planned. Lenin was giving a lecture on August 30, 1918, in a Moscow workshop when Kaplan decided to carry out her scheme. Kaplan yelled at Lenin as he left the building, but before he got into his car, she pulled out an FNM 1900 handgun and fired 3 rounds as Lenin turned to face her. Lenin was injured by 2 of the 3 bullets fired, one of which had gone through his coat. Both were embedded in his shoulders. One went through his neck, pierced a portion of his left lung, and ended close to his right collarbone. Security personnel on the site apprehended Kaplan as a result of the subsequent turmoil that followed. Lenin was returned to the Kremlin where he resided. He declined to leave the safety of the Kremlin to seek medical assistance out of concern that other conspirators could be preparing to murder him. Outside of a hospital, doctors who were called in to treat him were unable to extract the bullets. Lenin survived the attack despite the severity of his wounds, although his health never fully recovered. The strokes that rendered him handicapped and ultimately led to his death in 1924 are said to have been caused by the gunshot. Capture and execution of Fanny Kaplan. Conflicting narratives are presented in accounts of Fanny Kaplan's capture. In his testimony, Deputy Commissar S.N. Batulin stated that he was just 20 steps away from Lenin when he heard 3 gunshots and saw Lenin fall to the ground. Batulin detained a woman he thought was suspicious. It was later discovered that she was Kaplan. On the other hand, Factory Commissar Eni Ivanov said that Kaplan was caught after being recognized by a group of kids who had been following her down the street. The conflicting accounts surrounding Kaplan's capture are a result of these stories. As she was being questioned by the Cheka, she said the following: "My name is Fanya Kaplan. Today I shot Lenin. I did it on my own. I will not say from whom I obtained my revolver. I will give no details. I had resolved to kill Lenin long ago. I consider him a traitor to the revolution. I was exiled to Akatui for participating in an assassination attempt against a Tsarist official in Kiev. I spent 11 years at hard labor. After the revolution, I was freed. I favored the Constituent Assembly and am still for it." Fanny Kaplan faced a bleak end by execution after being apprehended for her failed assassination attempt on Lenin. Although the specifics of Kaplan's execution are unclear, it is known that she was given a firing squad as part of her death sentence. She was put to death for the violent crime she committed against Lenin and the Bolshevik government. The authorities' quick and severe response to quell opposition and uphold order during that turbulent time came to a head with the execution. The Bolsheviks' growing authoritarianism was pointed out by Fanny Kaplan, who emphasized how they forcibly shut down the Constituent Assembly in January 1918 despite having lost the elections. Kaplan met her end in Alexander Garden as she persisted in withholding the identities of any collaborators. On September 3, 1918, a gang of Latvian Bolsheviks and P.D. Malkov, a former Baltic sailor and Kremlin commander, carried out the execution. Kaplan received a headshot to the back. Her body was then placed in a barrel and set ablaze. Yakov Sverdlov, who had just 6 weeks earlier ordered the assassination of the Tsar and his family, gave the order for her execution. Although the actual death has not been extensively detailed, it served as a metaphor for the Bolshevik government's unyielding attitude towards people seen as threats. Kaplan's misfortune served as a sobering reminder of the penalties incurred by anyone who dared to oppose the newly installed Soviet dictatorship. Legacy: the official notification of the assassination attempt had Sverdlov blamed the right SRs even though they denied any involvement, despite her refusal to identify collaborators. Nearly 2 weeks before the attack on Lenin, Moisei Uritsky, the People's Commissar for Internal Affairs in the northern region and the leader of the Cheka in Petrograd, was killed. Although the Cheka did not discover any proof connecting the two incidents, the fact that they occurred so close to one another seemed noteworthy given how quickly the civil war was escalating. In response, the persecution of their rivals abruptly increased under the Bolsheviks. Only a few hours after the Kaplan shooting, an official proclamation of the Red Terror was made, calling for an all-out struggle against enemies of the revolution. About 800 right SRs and other political opponents of the Bolsheviks were put to death in the following several months. The Red Terror's territory covered substantially more ground during the first year.